So, Darren Aronofsky, your new movie Mother has provoked a lot of interesting discussions and heated debates. What was your anticipation level like before the movie opened? What were you expecting or hoping for from audiences?
I think we kind of knew what was going to happen, and we recognized that it was very provocative, and it was very intense, and we knew that we were going to places that you know people don't normally get taken to, and that there would be certain people that would really dig that ride, and there'd be other people that would be pissed off by that ride. Um, but it was the film we wanted to make, and so, I don't think I don't really like try to figure out how things are gonna land. I just sort of when I feel a passion for a story, I just get inspired, and that keeps me awake and pushes me down the path to make it, no matter what.
Well, the movie really does kind of harken back to films that were intended to provoke, and I mean, films made by major studios that thumb their noses at things and really started heated discussions. I mean, was that part of your intention? Was that part of your influence?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, probably my taste in cinema has always been that way. If you look at my movies in general, there's been a lot of controversy along the way. I don't think Requiem for a Dream was easy for everyone. I think Black Swan was even tough for a lot of people. The Wrestler had a lot of violence. Noah, of course, was controversial. The Fountain was controversial. In many ways, the safest film I made was Pi, my first movie. So I've constantly been, it's where my taste has always been, I guess, is just is in the alternative, and just trying to make different things out there. I think there's enough of we see a lot of the same stuff, and I've always had a taste to try and do something different. I was always inspired. I first started off by Spike Lee and Jim Jarmusch and Richard Linklater, and the beginnings of independent film. But also, I was influenced a lot by films I saw in Europe from Fellini and Kurosawa and stuff. So I don't know if those films are always. They definitely don't fall into that same model that movies are today.
Where did the idea for this movie come from?
I think I had been thinking about and very frustrated with um, kind of how the health of our planet. We were witnessing all of these superstorms and all of these unheard of conditions, but it's a very complicated thing to understand, to grasp. You can hear about the largest forest fire in the history of Canada happening this summer, but it's a very hard thing to really picture what that scale is. We hear about these fires, but we only see images that are, a firefighter in front of a wall of fire. We don't really. It's really hard to picture it, but everyone remembers the person who came over the house and spilled red wine on the carpet. So that was kind of the breakthrough. Was like, is there a way of taking this big thing about our home, the planet, and make it into a house? I guess part of that was inspired by Louis Buñuel's Exterminating Angel, where he was basically able to talk about all of society by locking a bunch of uh, society people in a single room. So that was kind of the starting point. And when I had that idea, I also thought, okay, I have a house, and it's kind of a home invasion story, which is similar to, humanity on the planet is kind of a home invasion story, with us just sort of constantly pulling resources out and not really thinking about giving back. It's all about taking and sort of not showing so much respect, and not recognizing that there's a limit to it. And so I thought the metaphor worked really well. I think there was also a very personal story about the end of a relationship happening, and that gave the emotional truth, I think, to the film that I was going for. And then there was some biblical elements that came around as just a way to structure the movie. I don't think it's really about those stories. It's more about telling the story of people by using the kind of classic stories of the Bible.
It's interesting you bring up Exterminating an Angel, because that movie was all about the ways in which society can devolve in certain ways. I mean, we can become very animalistic, and certainly, I mean, that's something that happens at the end of your movie.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting when you put too many of us together, we start to devour each other. Um, and that's I mean, you read any newspaper today, any good newspaper, you read the A section, and everything that's in that newspaper is by far more intense than anything that happens in Mother. If you actually got past the words that were there. Um, so I just sort of wanted to take a snapshot, a picture of um, one take on what's happening right now, and sort of put it into this one house and have, this spirit mother dealing with it.
Mhm. Speaking of the house, I mean, since I guess all the movie is set within the confines of this space, can you talk about the ways in which you and your creative team worked within that space to, I guess, create a sense of a world there, if
Yeah.
that makes sense?
Well, the last 30 minutes of the movie, The Fever Dream, was one of the hardest things. It probably was the hardest thing me and my team ever did together. I've always been interested in sort of putting in these fever dreams. And in Requiem for a Dream, there's the scene where the fridge comes alive, and that's like 2 minutes long. And then, of course, there's a scene in Black Swan with Natalie Portman when she turns into the Black Swan, and that was maybe 5 minutes. But this was like a 30-minute sequence that of just intense, spiraling out of control chaos, with I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of extras. Um, and that was every department had to work together perfectly. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, production design, cinematography, sound design, stunts. Everyone had to be lockstep. And of course, the performances had to continue to grow and to intensify as the world spiraled out of control.
Mhm. So, take us through, I guess, some of the planning that you did for that.
Mm. Wow, it was huge. I mean, we probably walked through. First, of course, it was written, and then it was rehearsed. We did a 3-month rehearsal period on this film, and then we actually did a pre-shoot of the entire movie in 2 weeks, where we actually shot out the whole kind of fever dream and the entire film, cut it together, and looked at it. And then once the set was built, there were many walkthroughs over and over again because we were dealing with major stunts inside of a confined space, like doing a Molotov cocktail in a living room with 20, 30 people in that room is a really difficult and dangerous thing to do. And of course, we wanted everyone to be safe. So we were very careful. And there's breaking glass, and there's breaking bottles, and there's people hitting each other. So everything had to be figured out inch by inch by inch. And we just slowly had to make that sequence very, very slowly, not knowing if it would all kind of link together. But that was the hope.
Talk a little bit about working with Jennifer Lawrence, because I mean, there's so much intense emotional material that she has to deal with in this movie. So, how do you bring that out of her, or create a space for her to be able to
Yeah.
be able to do that?
Well, what was really interesting for me in casting Jennifer Lawrence in Mother was that she had never done anything like this before, and it's not very connected to who she is. Like, I think, people have Silver Linings. She's incredible, but it really captures her spirit. Um, and that was exciting and scary for me. I didn't know if she could do it. To show this other side of her humanity, someone who was a caregiver filled of love, that was in the shadows, that was spoken down to, that was underappreciated, that had this gentle voice. Um, and it was a challenge she really, really wanted to take. And I didn't really see it come alive until we started shooting. And then I was just overwhelmed with, her gift, which is unlike any gift I've seen. It's she's taught herself how to act. and she's a great actress, able to do all different types of emotions, but she's also this incredible technical actor too. I mean, sometimes after a take, I give an actor 2, 3 notes, and they sort of they can pull that off. Jen was always pushing me to give her more and more notes. I'd say, I have a few notes. She goes, all right, give me them all. I'm like, there's no way you can do them all. And I give her 7 notes, and she would bang them out, just like, oh, just everyone, boom, 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 boom. So it was a great treat to work with her, because it kind of was, probably was like, coaching Jordan in high school. you know.
And within the film, also you surround her with people like Javier Bardem, Michelle Pfeiffer, Ed Harris. What was the experience of working with them like?
Well, they're all amazing. Javier Bardem is when you cast Jennifer Lawrence, even though she's playing this soft, gentle energy, just to believe someone she's with, you have to find someone with incredible emotion, incredible power, and finding Javier was like, it was just a perfect match, because I knew they would dance together well. It's not literally, but
Right.
And he's very interesting. Everything has to be real for him. Like, it just, the energy and the passion has to come through him for him to actually do it. Michelle Pfeiffer was a gift. I was so lucky to be making this film right when she was deciding to come back and do some work. And she was just a complete delight, and just so inventive and having so much fun. It was like wicked fun every time she was on set. Ed Harris, the classic. I mean, he's a legend.
Right.
He is America, and just so solid and willing to take any chance and risk that we wanted to. So I'm always looking for actors that want to go there, that want to take chances, that want to do risks, and this was some of them.
Within this movie, I mean, there's so much symbolism and little touches. I mean, things that you don't like as you're watching the movie, you say to yourself, "Oh, okay." At the end of it, I see what that means. When you were writing it and putting it together, I mean, how did you come up with all of these? Was it difficult to come up with all these different things, like the crystal,
Yeah.
representing this, and the
I mean, I had the allegory, this bigger idea that I was thinking about trying to get out there, which was coming from a passionate place. I had the human story of this couple and their relationship coming to an end, but I couldn't figure out how to structure it. And that was the big breakthrough, was thinking about using the Bible to sort of, and the stories of the Bible, to tell the story of people on this planet and in this home. That was kind of the big kind of aha moment. And so I was able to follow that as a roadmap, looking at all the famous symbols and images in that, and trying to recreate them. And so that's kind of what gave me the path to tell the story of people. And then eventually, when we get into the fever dream, it's sort of modern. The modern world is kind of unleashed, and we see where all of this, the history of humanity has led.
Mhm. I'm still trying to figure out what that yellow powder was in there. I don't know if I've cracked that yet. Um, you mentioned all these different things, like using the Bible as a roadmap, our planet, story of a marriage. I mean, there's all these different ways and that you can interpret this film, and that's been one of the interesting discussion points. I mean, do you welcome open interpretations of the movie?
Of course, that's, I think a filmmaker's job is to plant the seeds. That's all. I mean, it's a shame when everyone gets the same thing out of a movie. Oh, bad guy beaten by good guy. It's to me, that's not. I mean, I enjoy those movies as well, and I'm not, but that's not what I kind of do. I sort of want to put ideas out there, and when you do that, there's always going to be different interpretations, and I think that's the goal. When Pi was playing at the New Art back in '98, I remember being in a coffee shop around the corner, and some people came in and they were talking about it. And it was a dad with his daughter and her 2 friends, and they were just debating it and what it meant and all this. And I thought that was great. Those are the films I like, where you have conversations and you try to unpack what you just experienced.
And speaking of Pi, I mean, that was your first feature, and you made it independently. You came up in the independent film world. How has that world changed since the time that you started? I mean, now you're doing this kind of work at a big studio.
Yeah, well, we've tried to make these films as in the independent spirit as much as we can. I think the subject matter of all of them are independent. Pi was independent. Requiem was independent. The Fountain was at a studio. The Wrestler was independent. Black Swan was independent. Um, Noah was at a studio. And this film, even though it was at a studio, it was a negative pickup, and the studio, let us make our movie how we wanted to make it, which was incredibly Paramount was incredibly supportive of it, and they continue to be. Um, I think that's always the type of filmmaker I am. I'm always going to be. That's the only way I know how to make films is from that kind of model. I don't really. I mean, it's definitely changed. I mean, all the players have changed, of course. All the distributors have changed, but I imagine that the same journey the filmmakers go on is probably very, very similar.
Mhm. For your work on Black Swan, you received an Oscar nomination for directing. It was one of, I think, 5 nominations the film got, and of course, one for Natalie Portman. What did that kind of recognition mean for you?
Well, I think awards are really good for for weird movies. Mother being one of them, and that's why we play the game. I mean, it's not really what I do, promoting movies. But I recognize that it's important because there's a big investment, and also I want people to see the film because I think it's entertaining, and definitely the awards and the circuit of the awards helps to draw attention to the films and gets you more press and gets more people interested in seeing them. So, I mean, Pi without Sundance would have been nothing. The Wrestler without the Venice Film Festival would have been nothing. So, I think it really helps when you're not making just a big movie that has the muscle and the money behind it.
Now, are you currently working on anything new? Got anything new on the pipeline?
I'm starting to. It'll probably be in the new year when I start to really, focus in on what is. I have my company and I are doing a 10-part, 10-hour long documentary for Nat Geo on the planet and what makes the planet special. It's called One Strange Rock. It's we teamed up with some of the planet Earth people, and it's going to be something really beautiful to look at.
Well, I'm certainly anxious to see that. Darren Aronofsky, thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you very much for your time. Talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.